This is Truth Frequency Radio.
All right. Well, not only is it Truth Frequency Radio, if you're listening on TFR Live, iHeart, TuneIn, TalkStream Live, but you're also catching the Paranormal Portal right here on YouTube as we're broadcasting live and absolutely unrehearsed. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Friday night, and as Fridays roll, I guess this is a good one. I don't know if there's a bad Friday or not, but perhaps, I guess. Depends on what's going on in your world. But I'm always thrilled to be here because we have another opportunity to talk about all this weirdness that we all love so well, called the paranormal. And if you're new to the show, we kind of take a wide scope approach. Each show that we do live here on YouTube is kind of a variety show. We'll do some ghost, we'll do some UFO stuff, we'll do some cryptozoology and everything in between. And we like to have a lot of fun doing it. So thank you all for joining us. Hello to everybody coming into the chat and YouTube. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for piling in and joining the parade. And we got a lot going on tonight. Sheldon will be joining me eventually. He's not quite here yet. I'm sure he's strapping on the feed bag quick because he just got done with work and will be wiring in as soon as he can. So, but we'll be doing the news here shortly, talking about some fantastic articles I pulled up for you. And then we'll dive into some other weirdness. And then we'll rock it out with the cryptids in the cryptid corner. So I don't know about you guys, but I got a hankering for some fun. And by God, I'm going to do my best to have some. And I hope you will as well. How you doing, Mom? Good to see you. Good to see you. Portal Mom's out there tuning in, as is Chucky, Luna, Flyer Tuck, Roger Wilco, Wizard Moon's there, and Deb's in here. Deb was actually the first one in the door. And Rachel gets it right. One of our wonderful mods is here. Chucky's a mod as well. That's right. So it's great to see you guys. Thank you so much for piling in. I'm just grabbing some names as I'm seeing them. There's Audio. Good to see you. Good to see Audio. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we've got a lot to go through. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I wanted to touch on before we dive into it, but I can't think of anything. So I guess we're in good shape, and that means it must be time for the news. So without further ado, let's get to the news, folks, and get you all learned. We'll get you all newsed up here. So hopefully you learn something. All right, here we go. Trusted news. Oh, nice. Lucky Gypsy's coming in with a donation, $4.99. Thank you so much, Lucky Gypsy. That is amazing. Helps to keep the lights on here on the portal. It's not cheap to run a portal. I just want you to know that. I know most of you guys don't pay the utility bills for a portal, and let me tell you, they need a lot of juice. So thank you so much, Lucky Gypsy. I appreciate the donation. That's outstanding. We got the news here. Welcome to the news desk. I'm your anchor, Brent Thomas, and we're going to dive into some news and see what the hell's going on in the world around us. And hopefully it's interesting too. All right, the first one up. This one's kind of wild. I don't know much about it. Of course, I think everybody knows about something about Egyptian antiquities, such as the tombs and the pharaohs and the mummies and stuff. But there's also, every once in a while, there's a real rare find that's kind of cool. And I guess this is one of them. I didn't know that these were rare or not, but I guess it stands to reason. As old as ancient Egypt is, the fact that anything exists that was written there that wasn't in rock is truly spectacular. I mean, it's quite a statement, and maybe it's good they chose a desert, because that's a pretty good place to preserve things that aren't written in rock, as there's no real rain. But let's see, the first one up tonight is coming from a site called unexplained-mysteries.com. Again, please support this site. They do a phenomenal job over there. And the first story is Rare Book of the Dead Scroll Found at Ancient Egyptian Cemetery. So there's a rare Book of the Dead. Oh, geez, I hit an ad. Oof. Almost rolled us into an ad. So they apparently found a scroll of the Book of the Dead, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's what's in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I've heard mention of it forever, sometimes in mystical references, sometimes just in historical archaeological references. I don't think that this was a discovery that, hey, we didn't even know it was in there and now we know. I think there's already been record of the Book of the Dead from other places, but it's kind of neat to find a scroll. So let's see what the article says. It says, archaeologists have made a number of significant discoveries at a cemetery dating back 3,500 years. Situated in the necropolis of Tuna el Gabel in central Egypt, the cemetery, which was recently discovered during extensive excavation work, was found to contain several mummies, Coptic jars, amulets, figurines, and sarcophagi. I guess that's plural for sarcophagus. Sarcophagi. Okay. Now we all learned that. There's no way you knew that before tonight. And you're welcome. All dating back to the New Kingdom around 3,500 years ago. The most significant find, however, was a well-preserved Book of the Dead papyrus scroll measuring at around 49 feet in length. They just never heard of pages back then. They just rolled it all up like toilet paper. Something rarely found because scrolls like these deteriorate easily. The Book of the Dead is the name given to a series of texts containing, here you go, contains spells designed to assist the dead in their journey through the underworld and into the afterlife. Well, that's good. While there are nearly 200 chapters contained in the complete book, nobody has ever found a papyrus containing all of them. Instead, scrolls found at burial sites typically contain a selection of chapters and are perhaps most relevant to whoever is buried there. No specific details about the contents of the newly discovered scroll have been released, so it remains unclear which chapters of the book are contained within it. The mummies found at the cemetery include the daughter of, oh God, look at that name. How am I going to pronounce that? Djuhuti? I guess it's Djuhuti. I don't know if a DJ has like a J sound, but I'm going to pronounce it Djuhuti, the high priest of the god Amun, as well as a singer who was thought to have worked at the temple of Amun. More details surrounding the discoveries at the site are expected to be released in the near future. Well, there you go. They found a whole scroll, ladies and gentlemen. That's kind of cool. And we now know that many sarcophagus are called sarcophagi. There you go. I don't know. It's not like you probably need that the rest of your life, but at least you know it. And there you go. So that's the first article up for tonight on the news. I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's unique. Again, I don't think there's anything really earth-shattering or whatever discovered there, but it's the fact that they found it, and apparently it's in pretty good condition. So that's kind of cool. Now we got a visual one coming up next. It has to do with ghosts and hauntings, which is pretty fitting since this is the Paranormal Portal and all. But this is apparently a shadow figure that was caught on camera during Paranormal Tour. And I haven't looked at this ahead of time, so I have no idea what we're looking at here. But it's going to be visual, so if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you can go to YouTube, please do so, because that's going to make this a whole hell of a lot easier for you. Otherwise, I'll do my best to describe it for those of you that are just listening, and hopefully it makes sense. So, again, from unexplained-mysteries.com comes the next news story. Alleged shadow figure caught on camera during a paranormal tour. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I think shadow figures are really interesting. And again, a lot of people hear shadow figure and you go, oh, evil, dark, horrible. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think that spirits just sometimes appear shadowy, because they maybe can't shine real bright or whatever, or they just don't want to be noticed, so they go for a more shadowy apparition. I don't know. I don't think it's not, again, a lot of times we hear, ooh, dark, it must mean evil. And that comes from the old Hollywoodization of the cowboy movies. The good cowboys had white hats and the bad cowboys had black hats. And so you could tell right away who was the good and the bad guys. And it doesn't work that way in real life, though. So doesn't mean you should go out and pummel people dressed in black. That's not a good thing. But here's the story. Let's see what it says. It says, something unusual showed up during a recent ghost tour of Archer Woods Cemetery in Chicago, Illinois. The image, which was taken by a guest taking part in the Graveside Paranormal Ghost Tour back on October 21st, seems to show a dark, shadowy figure standing near the cemetery gates. According to reports, this is actually the third year in a row that a guest on the tour has managed to capture evidence of something paranormal in Archer Woods Cemetery. Some say the figure in the photograph is the infamous Weeping Lady, a ghost whose wailing cries have allegedly been heard on numerous occasions. Yeah, that's not at all creepy. Most of the activity at the site seems to be focused on the area around the gates. Apparently they want out. We know this is the way. Get us out. This isn't the only image taken on October 21st either. According to paranormal investigator Neil Gibbons, other guests were there that night also picked up something on their phones. Whether the cemetery's resident spook is to blame, however, remains a matter of debate. I don't know. I guess they're not giving us like the old red circle to show us for sure. I think for those of you that are looking, maybe if I click, it's a Facebook link. So let me just click this and just see what happens. I want to share the photos after I added brightness. I think they're talking about these. I mean, it basically looks like a lower torso with legs standing over here. I got to look at my screen here and see if you're able to see this. Yeah, I think it's right here is what they're talking about. I think I can zoom in a little bit here. Yeah. Thank you, Facebook, for the zoom function. But I think it's over here. Yeah, it is just basically like there is a red circle there. Thank God. Thank God there's a badly drawn red circle there to help us out. But yeah, it does look like translucent or transparent upper torso figure with just a lower torso and legs visible standing in the trail there. It doesn't look like a weeping lady though. It looks like somebody's wearing pants. I don't know how old the weeping lady is, but I'm betting she probably wore dresses. So I don't know. You be the judge. It certainly looks like it could be a pretty profound capture, actually. It looks like it might be the real deal. But again, you be the judge. I wasn't there. I can only judge it based on what I'm seeing right here on the screen. Maybe, though. Maybe. That would be certainly what I would expect to see, an apparition being photographed is something that's, it's humanoid shaped, but it's certainly in and of itself not completely conclusive, but it is curious, very curious. So, but you be the judge again. So there you go. That's another article you might not have known about, but now you know. And let's get to the last one. I got one more news story for you tonight here on the show, and hopefully it's a good one. I don't even remember what it is. Oh, this one has to do with UFOs. So let's get into the UFO stuff. That's right. I remember opening it up now. I didn't read it, but I opened it up because I knew we'd be reading it, and I do know it's not extraordinarily long, which is good, because sometimes I pull these up and they're actually like, 15 paragraphs. Like, well, I don't have time to read that, and so I read a headline and then go, oops, and shut it off. So this time I did a little background on it, so I can tell you that this one is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. Again, please support this site. AARO launches new internal reporting tool for UFO sightings. Everybody just give a round of applause to AARO, our government's latest attempt at transparency in the UFO world. So they got a new reporting tool. They're just having a press release about that. Hey, we got a new internal reporting tool for UFO sightings. We're spending your tax dollars wisely over here. That's being productive. I don't think that's anything to celebrate. I think anybody with, a GoDaddy account could make, a web page. So, all right, here, let's read it anyway, though. It says, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick announced the launch of a new tool during an off-camera media roundtable event earlier this week. Yeah, why do they have to have roundtable events? Just send out a memo, for God's sakes. This is tax money, you guys. Don't have to have dinners and luncheons and celebrate how much you're doing. Just send out a memo. Yeah, we got a reporting tool. We'll keep you updated. It says Dr. Kirkpatrick, who leads up the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, is one of many officials who have called for more openness in the reporting and investigation of UFOs in recent years. Yeah, because he's a bureaucrat, and obviously they want us to know everything. Sorry. I think I'm getting really cynical in my older age. I don't know. Maybe that's not good, but I'm here to tell you, as a side note, I've of course keep an eye on current events. I keep an eye on the news, the real news that goes on in our world. And honest to God, I think the greatest tragedy of our modern age is the inability to understand what is true and what isn't. I have no idea what I'm reading anymore. What, the hype stories that you read, is this really an accurate, true depiction, or is this a spin? Am I getting propagandized? I just get so tired of it. It just makes me not want to pay attention. Honestly. And I don't know, I don't know how I got to this anyway, but I certainly don't have any illusions that this AARO office of, investigating UFO reports is going to be transparent. Is not. It's going to be just another wellspring for them to collect information and to just flag it as national security and not let us know anything. I really am very cynical about this whole idea that we can expect any kind of forthcoming rush of information. They might throw us chunks here and there, like, the proverbial scraps for the dog sitting by the table. But I just don't have a lot of hope that we're going to ever get anything close to the full story on any of this from any governmental body, because, clearly, we don't even know if you can trust what you're seeing them talk about in any other way. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now, but I just had to vent because I was just thinking that tonight. It's like, I'm here, I'm reading this stuff. I'm reading and hearing things. And it's like, my God, I don't know if any of this is true, or if this is the truth, or if this is just a spin of a truth in order to elicit an emotional response. And it just frustrates the hell out of me. used to have a media. I think, and maybe I'm naive to think this, but there used to be like a media that when you tuned in, you kind of knew what was going on. You at least had an idea. Maybe not of the whole picture, but a lot of it. You kind of knew who was doing the good stuff and who was doing less than the good stuff. And you kind of knew where to throw your hat, but you just don't know anymore. It's just frustrating as hell. Even though the new reporting tool is designed to make it easier than ever to submit details of such sightings, it is not available to the general public. Not available to the general public. So it's not for us. They got a great club and you're not in it. Neither am I. All right. So we're not in it. It's not for us. It says, or in fact, to anyone outside of a small circle. So they got this new reporting tool that's going to really help them streamline reporting, but we don't have access to it. And most everyone else doesn't either, except for a small core group of people. Does that look transparent to you? Because it doesn't to me at all. All right. According to Kirkpatrick, the tool will be restricted to current or former U.S. government employees, service members, or contractors with direct knowledge of alleged U.S. government programs or activities related to UAP dating back to 1945. These reports will be used to inform AARO's congressionally directed historical record report and investigations into alleged U.S. government UAP programs due to Congress in June of 2024, he said. Please come forward using this new secure reporting mechanism. Yeah, right. We want to hear from you. I bet you do. Kirkpatrick was also hinted at additional reporting systems coming in the near future. We understand that members of the public are also interested in reporting UAP sightings to AARO, he said. We are exploring methods for how the public can do so in the forthcoming third phase of the secure reporting mechanism, but I don't have anything to announce about that today. How about an email? Just give us an email address, for God's sakes. You know, it doesn't have to be a huge development and 15 million tax dollars to just have people give them an email address. That's it. Gmail, it's free. I don't know. Anyway, all right, I'm done ranting. Sorry, but it's just it's so condescending. It's so condescending, and they must really believe people are absolute bricks. They must have zero faith in people. But anyway, do I hope that that they'll be more transparent? For sure. But do I fully expect they will? Absolutely not. I have no reservations that it'll be just another wormhole for reports to go in and disappear. And so, but I don't know. What can you do? What can you do? It's all a mess, I think. So anyway, let's get to the next part of our program because, ladies and gentlemen, this has been it for the news. All right, let's get back to the rest of the show. Plug that into my head forever. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it here on the Paranormal Portal, and hope you enjoyed the news. I don't know. Again, I hate to sound so negative, but it's just like, God, you know, how many turds can they throw at us and tell us it's chocolate? You know, ooh, it's a new batch of chocolate. No, that doesn't smell like chocolate at all. Maybe it's just me. I don't think so, though. I think you guys are all on the same boat, right? You guys are of like mind, aren't you? I think you are. At least I believe so. Doesn't look like we got a Sheldon yet because he's just working his way back home, I guess. So he'll be with us shortly, and until then, I'll do my best to keep you entertained because that's my job here, and by God, I'm going to do it as well as I know how. I just got to figure out what's next now. I've kind Kind of forgotten what I was going to do here. I forgot. No, I don't want to do that. Well, maybe. There was one article here that actually from Phantoms and Monsters, and I was thinking maybe that would be fun to check out, but I got to make sure I got the right one here. That one would be cool. That would be, no, okay. It'll be this one. And this is kind of an oddity. It's more of an, sometimes you ever see some of those old pictures and they look creepy and odd. Well, I think we all know, like from the 30s or the 20s and stuff, some of the weird photos that are out there. And I think they were supposed to be kind of humorous and silly, but they just look creepy. Well, Lon did a whole article on it. And I saw this, I was like, God, that's really funny. Because I think we've all seen them. In fact, if you ever go to my Instagram for the Paranormal Portal Instagram, I've got a bunch of old photos up there. Not a ton, but there's some up there that are from way back. And you just look at them and you go, oh, they look so creepy. And if you go check them out, you'll see. But I haven't pre-read this article, so I don't know what to expect for sure. But I thought, well, this would be kind of fun to go through because what the hell? You know, we got some time and by God, it's my show. I can do whatever the hell I want. So that's what I wanted to do. All right. So this is from Saturday, October 28th from phantomsandmonsters.com. Again, Phantoms and Monsters is Lon Strickler's site. It's been an absolute pillar of the paranormal and Fortean topics forever. And it's a great repository for incredible reports, people having face-to-face encounters with things like Dogman, Bigfoot, Mothman-type creatures, the winged humanoids, with other Fortean stuff as well, including UFOs and ghosts. So there's just an incredible wellspring of information there. If you want to go over there and check it out, you will be busy for probably weeks and weeks if you just did a binge read of the entire site, just because it's so robust and full of information. So you can go check those out. You can also check out listings of Lon's published works. He's been an incredibly prolific author as well. And he's published several books. The Meme Humanoids, he's done some on the Mothman. He's done a bunch of different books about different topics, and they are listed on his phantomsandmonsters.com as well. And you can find out information about Lon's podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio, which is also a project he's been doing for a long time, and it's also a YouTube channel. So go check it out and get subscribed over there. Lon does a great job. He's been on the show a few times. We had a great time talking to him. And I really enjoy talking to Lon. He's just one of those guys. Been at it for a long time and really knows his stuff. But here's an article. It says, let me see, what is this? Yeah, we can do this. Okay. This is a few more odd and creepy photos. There's a picture of like a chicken head running. I don't even know what the hell that is. It's just odd, just creepy and odd, which fits that. It says, here's a few more odd and creepy photographs that I find interesting. These images were forwarded to me from various sources. Happy Halloween. So it's kind of a Halloween-y thing, but what's that guy for? It says Kislova, Serbia. 3 days after he died, Peter, oh dear God, Plagojewicz returned from the grave and showed up at his son's door demanding food. His son fed him, but not the next night. This led to the deaths of his son and several villagers who all suffered a loss of blood before their deaths. Yeah, he was a vampire. At Peter's grave, authorities found him with flushed cheeks and blood covering his mouth. He was staked and burned, as were his victims. So he died. Showed up at his son's house, wanted to be fed. He fed him. But the next night, they all died from loss of blood somehow. And so they went and dug him up, and he was all looking like he was brand new, I guess. So creepy. So they took care of that. That might be a good ghost photograph too. Let's see what this says. From Mansfield Reformatory in Ohio, when we took this picture to show the unique design, we got an image in the background of what appears to be either a guard or houseboy. Some of the good behavior prisoners were used to clean and help out in the administrative offices and in the living quarters of the warden. We saw nothing when the image was taken, and the area was clear of people while I took it. So again, this is for those of you listening and not able to see, it's just like a girl in a doorway, and they took a photo just to kind of show the place, and they caught this wispy apparition in the background. That's kind of creepy, and it does look like a great capture, actually. But I mean, you can just see the that's making contact with the floor. It looks pretty convincing to me. I wasn't there. I can't test it, but just first blush, it looks like it might be the real thing. So interesting shot. Okay, this is one, and these come up quite a bit. This is an old time photo of a group of people, probably from the 30s or 40s. But whenever you see these groups of people, sometimes there was a weird hand that shows up that doesn't match any of the other people who are all standing cross. They got their arms crossed on their chest, all of them, in the area, and yet there's some fingers over the shoulder here. But it says, okay, it says a photograph of Irish girls working at a linen factory. In fact, a linen mill back in 1900 has revealed a very creepy surprise, but can you spot it? Well, yeah, the red circle kind of gave it away for me, but that's just me. Our sister site's Belfast Live first spotted this brilliant old snap when putting together a historical gallery, but little did they know the spooky secret the picture was hiding. Everything seems normal. The snap shows a group of linen mill girls posing for a photo in their work clothes, each with a cord around her waist holding the tools that they used every day. But look closer, and you might spot that a young lady in the far right of the dark shirt has an extra very creepy accessory, of which she's unaware of. And that's the red circle here is highlighting a hand on her shoulder. And as you can see in the photo, all the girls have their arms crossed. So it's not just one of the neighboring girls throwing up an arm, unless that's not an arm and it's a fat roll or something. I mean, God knows I got a few of those. But yeah, I don't know. That's strange. Very weird, but could be a great capture. I wonder, I mean, it wouldn't, certainly workplace mortality was a big thing, especially back in the, at the 1900s, turn of the century, 18 and 1900s, that workplace safety was an afterthought. It's like you were lucky to have a job, much less, have safety and protections. So people were made to work in the most horrible conditions. And yeah, that's really creepy. So someone else was there. Imagine somebody that didn't clock out someday. They just ended up working there forever. All right, here's one that seems to show a figure in the background of something. It's very zoomed in already. But it says, this picture was taken at Devil's Den in Gettysburg. And that's a famous battle area in Gettysburg. Yeah. On April 3rd of 2005. There were not any reenactors there at the time. It says, I made for certain that during my trip, I did not take any pictures of anyone dressed in Civil War era clothing because I was there on a ghost hunting trip. Note, the uniform is similar to those worn by West Point cadets during the period. Very odd. And it's not like it's a real crisp shot. It's a very zoomed in segment of a photograph, but it does really look like a figure standing there in some kind of old uniform. So I'll give them that. Very creepy. Oh, very creepy. That is. Is that you, Sheldon?
That's me.
It's Sheldon, ladies and gentlemen. He's here.
I've arrived.
Glad to see you here, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I am glad to be here on this wonderful Friday night, feeling the crisp air. Oh, it's cold out there.
Is it? Oh, well, it's been actually a little warmer here. It's kind of nice because we went through a hell of a cold snap. So anyway.
Why don't you rub it in?
Well, don't even get on me about that. My cousin makes sure to tell me all the time that he's wearing shorts and it's 70 and 80 degrees. So I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear your whining.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, but glad to have you here, buddy.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so we're going through some old pictures, Sheldon. This is a article from phantomsandmonsters.com, and it's pretty good. Let's get to this one. It looks like a tooth in a small jar sealed with wax. So it says vampire fangs. A small glass vial contained 2 forcibly removed vampire fangs. When Saint Numurius would shake this vial, the noise would tell nearby vampires that a successful vampire hunter was near. Ooh, there you go.
Whoa.
So that's actually pretty creepy. Somebody's teeth ended up in there. You know, God only knows where he got them. Look, I mean, they could be canine teeth for all I know. They don't look like human teeth at all. They are sharp and pointy, but the roots don't look like human teeth roots, do they?
I don't know a lot about teeth, so it could be, it may not be. That's a good question.
I don't know. I'd be curious to somebody that had some knowledge of teeth, whether veterinarian or human, and could look at those and go, oh, well, that's because they're dog teeth or something stupid like that, But I mean, it wouldn't. I wouldn't put it past anything, really. If the person's making a living going around killing vampires, they're probably not being all above the board. There's a couple of wigs for you, buddy. This is an unknown photo. The owner found it in a hoard of family photos. Quite creepy. Well, I don't know if it's really creepy. It's just two women in their sundresses. Obviously older women, but they got very, very, very long hair. The one's lady's she looks like she's about 5'10", and her hair's almost to the ground while she's standing up. The other one is just waist length. So I don't know. Nothing really creepy though. Right?
Yeah. If you guys want to grow your hair to your knees, you know what? More power to you.
We're supporting it. We're okay with it.
Yeah.
Here's one that shows apparently something in the reflection. It says, actress Jessica Alba may have experienced an event that commonly happens in horror movies. The Fantastic, she's still known as the Fantastic Four actress. She's been in about 80 movies, but they still call her the Fantastic Four actress. Nice. The Fantastic Four actress shared on Instagram and Facebook a photo that shows herself standing in a room where the camera caught what is believed to be a supernatural being. The photo does not only feature the actress' flawless face, but also a spectral figure just above Alba's shoulder. You can see the blurry, transparent, dark-eyed figure. We have no idea what that is. Freaky, Alba captioned the photo, complete with a shock face emoji. Though it appears to be just the reflecting light that bounces off of polished wooden door. A lot of fans speculated about what the figure really was, and some of them even shared their spooky experiences and frightening stories. Most of them suggested that the figure was a ghost. One Facebook user noted, "It's a ghost. I catch things on camera all the time." Everybody's heard this on Facebook, right? The one person that absolutely knows for certain everything.
Yeah.
I catch things on camera all the time, mostly orbs, but this is a full-on spirit, and I would be freaking out, LOL. Meanwhile, an Instagram user wrote, "I really think you captured a ghost on camera. Totally creepy, but it's because you are such a light being." Oh, he was totally, what do they call it when guys, simp. He was totally simping. He's simping.
He's simping.
Yeah. Such a light being. They sometimes follow the light so they can go up. That guy's trying to get a date. That guy's working the date angle.
One more.
She's married, full disclosure. Note, if you have an odd or bizarre photographs you'd like to share, please feel free to forward them to me. Thanks, Lon. Well, there you go. You can't really zoom in on it, but does look like a photo. Maybe we can do it. Nope, can't do any better here either. So there you go. I don't know. Looks like a figure.
What do you think?
I think it could be. Wouldn't surprise me even a little.
You know what always makes me doubtful of these kind of photos?
What's that? What makes you doubtful?
The thing that makes me doubtful of those kind of photos is where the center of the camera is pointed and why it's pointed there for a reason. It's not pointed at our face. It was just an innocent photo. That's the thing that makes me always suspicious.
Yeah, exactly. No, Rachel says, "Hey, I've got prominent canines, pointy ones." Yeah, me too. I don't know if you can see them. I got a lot of pointy teeth. But those didn't
Yeah.
those didn't look like the human roots to me. They look like maybe a dog's roots, but I'm not an expert either, so I'm just guessing.
Oh, that's actually a word. That's actually a creepier story if it's dog roots. It's like,
Well,
oh no, what? Where's the
no.
dog? Oh no.
Well, I'm sure they wasn't pulling live teeth.
I don't know. You know,
I'm sure somebody
you
lost a
vial
dog.
from the 1800s, you never know.
Well, you don't. That's true. It's like, you're getting mush from now on. Yeah, maybe. But I just think I don't think those roots are human. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Rachel says, I heard those are a genetic throwback. Yeah, I guess it could be. I mean, there was a time we needed these teeth to chew through things. And actually, I got a lot of old genetic traits, believe it or not. And, I'm kind of a mutant in a lot of ways. So
True.
Yeah.
Does anyone have the ability to make their eyesight fuzzy at will? Because I have that ability.
Yeah, I think. Well, I. What do you mean, make it fuzzy? Like squinting and making it fuzzy, or just making your eyesight fuzzy?
The only way I can describe it is I don't know if I flex something in my eye or something, but I can, without squinting at all, I can make everything blurry if I want to.
Huh? No, I don't know. That doesn't sound familiar.
There's
to
a
me.
lot of people saying yes. No, it's like, okay, I guess we're not rare. I guess I'm not rare.
What do you mean we? I don't do it. You're like throwing me in there.
Oh yeah.
I just got
I
sharp
want you to feel
teeth.
special.
Oh, I feel special for all kinds of ways, Sheldon, but not because I can make stuff fuzzy by looking at it. Just when I don't have my glasses on.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So you're not alone. I guess maybe we just managed to attract a bunch of viewers and listeners that are very much like us, Sheldon. Just all kinds of weirdness.
Oh, pharmacy said your eyes has muscles that can defocus. We have control of our eye muscles. Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
We do, huh?
Guess so.
And we do. Absolutely. But I will tell you that what I have noticed, and it's harder to do now that I'm older, but I used to be able to focus on really, really small print. Like I could hold something and at first glance it would be hard to read, impossible to read, but I could focus my eyes and get it so that I could read, almost zoom in. I wouldn't say it's binocular vision, but I could force my eyes to focus on little micro print. I can't really do it anymore though. I've noticed as I've gotten older, it doesn't work. I can hardly read a coin anymore. I used to, check for all those mint marks and stuff without a magnifying glass and small micro font like that, but can't do it anymore. I can barely read a coin now. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Anyway, God, it's 7:41. We still got some time. I forgot about the filler. I didn't have anything. I was kind of thinking that those weird pictures from Lons would be like a Trail Cam Terrors kind of segment, even though I didn't frame it with the bumper, but it was too short. It was just too short, Sheldon.
Aw.
I was planning on it being much longer than that, but it wasn't.
That's okay.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're okay with it.
Yeah, I am.
I'm just going to look for something here. I want to read this one though, because this is actually, I think this is Phil Schneider's story, and it's from howsandwhys.com. And this is Vicky Verma's site, and he really does a good job. His name is Vicky, but it's a guy. I didn't know that for the longest time, but I recently found that out because he's on Twitter or X, and he's got a picture of himself, and he's very much a male person. So I don't know if he's from Europe or where he's from, but this has to do with the Dolce base. And oftentimes we've referenced Phil Schneider on the show, and I've encouraged a lot of you guys to go out, if you can, on YouTube and look up some of his talks, because Phil was one of those enigmatic characters, but he had a lot of knowledge, and he had some incredible stories of things he'd witnessed having to do with non-human entities, extraterrestrials, underground bases, deep underground bases like the Dolce base, which is pronounced or spelled Dulce, and it's pronounced Dolce. A lot of people say Dolce, but it's Dolce base. And I thought, well, I just found it now, but I'm like, well, let's read this because this maybe goes into Phil Schneider's story a little more, or at least more about the Dolce base, which Phil Schneider was involved in when they were going down doing these underground bases. They ran into some apparently tall alien grays. And according to Phil Schneider, they had a shootout with them. And Phil Schneider got his chest split open and lost half of his hand because he was hit by a weird beam of light. And Green Beret dove in front of it and sacrificed himself to save Phil, but they still got severely injured from that. So allegedly true story. Again, I can't speak with any authority of it because I just don't know, but that's the claim. So here's from Hows and Wise. And this is from when? When is this from? It was last updated a year ago, or it's from a year ago. Last updated June 12th, 2022. So I guess a little over a year now. So, but this is the article. Let's check it out. And this is Timothy Green Buckley, also known as Mr. UFO, had published a spectacular book on the most enticed Dolce base before he passed away in May of 2021. It has been rumored for decades that there is a secret underground facility in Dolce, New Mexico, where the aliens and humans work together as partners in crime. Yeah, Phil said that as well. Apparently there's like 7 levels, and it starts out with mostly humans on top, and by the time you get to the bottom, it's mostly, if not all, extraterrestrials. Creepy. Doing all kinds of weird experiments. Many attempts were made by various whistleblowers, Dolce warriors, as Mr. Timothy called them, to reveal the truth about Dolce and humanity's infiltration by interplanetary races. However, many of those seeking to enlighten the world about this growing danger found their lives threatened by malevolent forces that would stop at nothing to prevent the truth from getting out. There's a note here. He died at the age of 73 on May 31st, 2021 at his home in Manhattan. He was known as Mr. UFO, Mr. Creepo, a pioneer in his field on ufology, the paranormal, and all things bizarre. He was a publisher, author, editor, producer with Inner Light Publications, published over 200 books. He was the editor of UFO Universe magazine and film reviewer for Hustler magazine. And he ran, I guess you got to throw that in there. And he ran the New York School of Occult Arts and Sciences and worked promotions for the School of Rock and Roll. There we go. Oh, very nice. Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks for the donation, man. Appreciate it. That means the world. Mr. Timothy attempted to discuss the connection between the Dolce base and Area 51 in his book, Dolce Warriors, Aliens Battle for Earth Domination, along with 9 others. He added that everything people knew about the UFO mystery may actually be disinformation to hide advanced military science and technology. According to Mr. Timothy, everything controversial with Dolce base started with an engineer named Paul Benowitz, who believed aliens were communicating with him over a radio receiver. He also observed and photographed UFOs flying over nearby Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico, specifically the nuclear storage facility there called Manzano Storage Area, the country's largest underground nuclear storage facility. In 1979, Benowitz began to observe the flights of mysterious objects from his home and took their photos as well. When he attempted to report the strange aerial activity to the authorities, he immediately drew the interest of the government. According to one theory, what Benowitz was witnessing was actually UAVs, or unmanned aerial vehicles. That's interesting. UAVs was unmanned aerial vehicles, when UAP is unmanned aerial phenomena, or unknown aerial phenomena. Pilotless aircraft that are remotely controlled either on the ground or programmed by onboard computer systems. However, whatever the secret was involved with the strange sightings, the government did not want Benowitz to know the truth. Allegedly, Benowitz was brainwashed by the government into believing that the test flights were alien discs over Kirtland Air Force Base. He somehow received a message either by radio or over his computer saying that there is a secret base 150 miles north of Albuquerque in the mountains underground. Benowitz was provided with exact coordinates of this alien base, which of course, turned out to be Dolce. Unfortunately, he was never able to prove either the existence of the aliens over Kirtland or the government's manipulations of his attempts to document the mysterious overflights. Norio Hayakawa, an American activist who lives in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, has played a significant role in the Dolce mystery. He has written many articles on the subject and appeared numerous times on radio and TV programs dealing with the town. Hayakawa said the proximity to Albuquerque is very important because it is where German scientists were first transferred in 1945, immediately after World War II. Oh yeah, the Operation Paperclip, sure. Through the Operation Paperclip program. In addition to German scientists, skilled intelligence officers were imported as well. According to Hayakawa, Dolce is a location filled with mysteries that are still ongoing. I believe it is far more interesting than Roswell's. Yes, Roswell was significant in that it is the alleged location of the crash of extraterrestrial vehicles in 1947. They're talking about the good God. How did that get out of my head? Anyway, the UFO crashes in 1947. Roswell, that's what I was trying to think of. But you know that was it. But Dolce is something different. It's an ongoing thing that is still taking place. Hayakawa also added that the entire population of Dolce had experienced strange sightings in the last 3 or 4 decades. Bill Burns is a guy that's been on the show once. I think he had UFO magazine for a while, and he was on Ancient Aliens quite a bit and some other shows, but a very, very intelligent guy. Bill Burns was a lot of fun to talk to. But he was also one of those guys that you can tell he's done a million interviews because he was just almost watching the clock.
Oh, wow. Geez.
But it was still incredibly interesting. I mean, I really like talking to him. But it says Bill Burns, noted author, researcher, and television personality, said he doubts that Dolce has any genuine alien presence, but he did pass along what has become an incident repeatedly referred to in discussions of Dolce, the firefight at Dolce. The story goes that way back in the 80s, Burns said, the extraterrestrials were giving a lecture to some scientists. In that demonstration, a lot of scientists were getting sick because of what the aliens were doing. So some of our military guards who were prohibited from entering the area and prohibited from carrying any kind of weapons into the area suddenly burst in to protect the scientists. And the aliens reacted, Burns continued, by basically turning their weapons on the security guards, killing them. Some aliens were killed and some scientists were killed. Supposedly, we all worked very hard to try and patch it together so there wouldn't be any more incidents like that. Co-author Tim Schwartz provides the story of Phil Schneider, who claimed to be an ex-government structural engineer and was involved in the building of underground military bases around the country. Schneider also said that he was one of only 3 people to survive the incident between the alien greys and the U.S. forces that Bill Burns described above. Oh yeah, there's Phil showing his chest right there where he got split open. And he's only got part of a hand as well. Some of his fingers are gone. Bill Schneider was able to take part in the construction of at least 2 underground bases for the so-called secret government, as well as the construction of 13 deep-seated military bases underground. 2 of those bases were major, including the much-rumored bioengineered facility at Dolce. Click here to read the full article. Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll open that for a later show. In 1995, at a regular lecture, Schneider said that over the past 22 years, 11 of his best friends had died and they knew something about the so-called government conspiracy theory. At the same time, 8 out of the 11 episodes were officially recognized as suicides. Really?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Isn't that convenient?
Yeah.
On
very.
January 17th, 1996, Schneider was found dead in his house at Wilsonville, Oregon. He was lying on the floor next to the piano, and a tube from his own catheter was wound around his neck. However, according to the report, Schneider was shot dead by police officers who came to deal with a large number of unpaid taxes and fines. And during the dialogue, Schneider began to behave menacingly, grabbing his weapons, and thus left the law enforcement officers with no choice. Woof. Yeah, that's a loaded story there. So he died with his catheter wrapped around his neck, but he was shot to death.
That makes no sense. Interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't. But again, yeah. I don't know. It's one of those stories, right? What do you do with that?
It's not passing the smell test.
Is it stinking? Is it stinking? Your smell test is stinking?
This is stinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I will put a link to this article in the chat on YouTube. You guys can check it out if you want more information. Or if you want to revisit some of the stuff that it did cover. It was a really good 30,000-foot view of some pretty profound reports. But
you know what that tells you, though? If it was, assuming that's all true, and assuming that that is the exact circumstance of his passing, doesn't that kind of tell you that, wow, he must have been on the right path or close to something they didn't want him to, or he was making too much noise, that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things that when somebody comes out and they're making a lot of noise about things that people don't want noise made about, they suddenly get they suffer some pretty extraordinary accidents.
Yeah.
And it's, it's kind of, it's one of those things. I think everybody knows what's going on. It's just that not much anybody can do about it, not with the way things are.
No.
So, I mean, it's one thing to know, but it's not like you could just then act on it and make things go away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Mr. Epstein.
Yeah, well, there you go. Just go ahead and make this your show.
So, it's an example.
It's an example.
Innocent example, just.
I don't know how innocent that is, but yeah, that's another one of those situations, the whole Epstein thing. It's like, really? None of the cameras worked. Oh, is that right? Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, of course.
Yeah.
But it's the way of the world, unfortunately. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's some stories of Dolce, the weird alien base there. It's a huge topic, this whole DUMBs, deep underground military bases and such. The possible cooperation with extraterrestrial entities and stuff. I don't pretend to know anything about it other than what I've shared anecdotally with you guys over the years. It's just such a topic that it would be nice to, think, hey, I'm going to read all this alternative stuff and know all about it. Well, again, some of this stuff is really out there. And how do you wrap your mind around some of this? Is there really that much shenanigans going on? Maybe. I just don't know if I'm ready to confront that intellectually, though,
I mean, in a sense, I'm sure you feel the same way, but for some of the darker stuff, the stories that we read, I'm sure we would love to hear, in a sense, that they were just crazy people and that none of it was true.
Oh, that'd be fascinating because, then it would be like, oh, okay, good. We can just put that down. We don't have to carry that. It was just the rantings of a mad person,
Yes.
Then it's easy. If you can just dismiss it as, just emotionally damaged or compromised people or people suffering from psychological disorders, then it's easy. You just put it down and ignore it because, that explains everything. Okay, well, what's the score on the game? Well, who's playing this weekend? You can get back to the world that we know. But it could be after the Paranormal Portal show, hence After Hours. What are we talking about? Unknown Worlds? How you doing, Unknown Worlds? Good to see you. That's a new name. I haven't seen that name before. I don't know. I think these stories are fascinating though. But you be the judge. I will just tell you that if you choose to go down the rabbit hole, get ready for a hell of a ride because you're going to hit some weird bumps along the way, some weird stories and some extraordinary claims. And I'm not suggesting that makes them unbelievable. I'm just saying you got to be ready for the full ride, because this goes deep, and it goes scary deep. And and it's one of those things. What do you do with it? What do you do with it then? And I don't know. Hell, I don't know. I still struggle with that. What do you do with that knowledge once you have it? And it's interesting, but it's also terrifying to think that things are so far askew. I mean, clearly things are pretty far askew anyway. But yeah.
Here's a good question. If you had the power, let's say there's a wish in front of you and you can grant it or not, and you could have all the government secrets, all the secrets of the world unlocked for you. In a sense, would you actually want that? Like, what if it's really ugly?
Well, yeah, because I don't think you can fix it without knowing what's broken.
Yeah. Well,
and so,
yeah, I suppose.
and the problem is, if it is that broken, it's not going to get fixed by itself, because whoever has the keys, they're not interested in not having them. You know, it's not like they're just going to go, you know what, we were jerks, but we're going to get better now. You know, they're never going to get to that point. It's going to continue to be a mess. And there's going to continue to be, tramplings of people's rights and sovereignty and all of that, until all of that stuff surfaces. And once it surfaces, even as ugly as it is, even as much as it'll probably shatter a lot of our paradigms and just be like disgusting, then it can be fixed. But we can't fix without knowing what's broken and how deep that damage goes, you know?
Yeah. Elaine's saying, ignorance is bliss. Like, you know, you can live happy, or you can live with all that knowledge and realize just how screwed up everything really is.
Yeah, no, there's that too. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I would love, in some ways, since doing this show, I've run into a bunch of that stuff that it's not comfortable to know. And it's not that I subscribe to it wholeheartedly, but you can't help but hear these things and go, well, what if? What if it really is like that? What if that's how broken all this is? And then what do you do with it?
Yeah.
So it just makes everything look like studio props and Hollywood, Imagineering. Our world is built on ideas instead of realities, or ideals, or propaganda, or whatever, It's like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating to me. And there were some things that I've learned since going down these rabbit holes I wish I never learned, because it's frustrating to think, this is really that broken. And it could be. But again, I don't pretend to know. But I also don't continue to push down those lines, because I don't know. I just gotta. I don't know. Maybe I'm cowardly, but I'm just being honest. It's like, I just know I can't fix it, and knowing that it's broken is already frustrating.
Yeah.
But it's a societal kind of fix. We just have to, I think, get to the point where really integrity is important, truth is important, and we have to adhere to it. And then once we do, grab on and go for the ride, because it's going to get ugly. Not in terms of brutalities or whatever, but I mean, it's just going to get ugly, because you're going to become aware of everything that's all screwed up, and how badly it's screwed up, and all the crap that's happened to keep it screwed up. And then comes the fixing it part, and how do you fix that? And I wish I was a smarter person, because maybe I would know. Brent, I was saying that Sheldon can make an after-hour show called Paranormal Portal after hours, but it would be up to Sheldon, old man. Oh. They want you to do a show, Sheldon.
Interesting. Very interesting. I appreciate the suggestion, Unknown.
Yeah, he appreciates the suggestion.
Right.
I'm not sure if the boss would let you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But yeah, I hear you. I mean, doing more shows is, I used to do, honest to God, I used to do 7 live shows a week, one every night, every day of the week, and then 3 podcasts. I did that for a year, but I did So I did 10 shows a week for a year straight, through, literally a full year straight. And that got to be a lot of work. And then I pared down to one podcast a week, but still did 7 shows for a long time. So I was doing 8 shows a week, and that got to be a lot. And then I was just like, ugh. And so now we're at 3 shows a week and 1 member show as well for the YouTube members. But then the 1 or 2 podcasts, depending on, if we've got a long podcast, we split it into 2 episodes, make it a part 1 and part 2. But, that's still a lot. But I wouldn't want to encumber more things on the playlist, because I like focusing on also using some energy and effort to focus on doing the investigation stuff. That to me is very exciting, and I'm really excited to start unveiling those to you guys, because I'm hoping you guys will enjoy them as much as I enjoyed making them and doing them. And I've been working with a great editor named Jimmy, and he's been helping me with it. And I'm really excited to unveil those. So, but yeah, I mean, there could be a lot of different portals, I suppose, but it's a lot of work. Every one of those is a lot of work. So anyway, let's get on with it.
Oh, isn't it? Like, since I remember every night show, I remember when there's only few people in chat.
When I was doing the every night shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was some shows 10, 15 people would show up, and it was still fun to do, but it is a lot of work, and even still there isn't a lot of views, so it was like, wow, that was a lot of work. Maybe it was too much. Maybe it was just too much Portal, so that's why I backed away from it, doing so many shows, because it was a lot of work for, and there wasn't a lot of people checking them out, and that's not anybody's fault. It's just there's a lot of things going on online, and I can't pretend that everybody should just be watching the Portal 24/7. But
yeah,
it's just the way it goes. But I think we're gonna head over to the Cryptid corner now, Sheldon. What do you think of that?
I think that's a good idea.
Good idea.
Yeah.
How about all you guys? You want to do the Cryptid corner? How about we do some shout outs, though? Anybody wants shout outs, type in the chat, please. And we'll do some shout outs.
It's time to get your name shouted out.
Yeah, I see we got a few in here. So
see who's here. It's time to chat.
Yep.
Let's see.
Who is here?
Well, I'm just going to start reading, guys. It's time. We got Audio, Bertie Cuda, Colleen Bowman, Deb Varner, Elaine Clifford, John Labella, John Temprine, Jordan Cogburn, Luna Moonicorn, Maggie M10, more of this, more of that. Paranormal Portal, Rachel Gets It Right, Roger Wilco, Ron the Sage, SoCal Squasher, and The Unknown. And I'm here. It's just not in chat.
And Elaine.
And Elaine. I already said Elaine.
Did you? I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rick Wagerson?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it looks like there's
Lucky Gypsy.
ZX81V2 just came in.
There we go. We go.
We're getting it.
Welcome in.
It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. And that's just the active people chatting. There's a lot more watching, but they're just kicking back. So that's fine too. Oh, Deb, you heading to bed? Did Deb say she's a little?
Uh-oh.
Deb's going to catch some rest. Okay. All right. Good night,
Good night, Deb.
Okay. So we're going to hit the Cryptid corner, ladies and gentlemen, and dig into some of these creature reports. Again, we're going to start out with Sasquatch Chronicles and work our way back to Phantoms and Monsters. So with that in mind, let me see, where is it? Okay, I got 3 from Sasquatch Chronicles. Last one's really, really short. But this one's from November 3rd. That's today? Yeah, it's from today. It's today old. Okay. November 3rd, Sasquatch Chronicles blog, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be visiting this now. And check it out. Thanks to Wes Germer. Wonderful guy that he is. And congratulations once again at clearing 1,000 episodes of Sasquatch Chronicles.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge benchmark.
Wow.
Absolutely. That's a rite of passage right there. So,
Job, Wes.
Yeah, good job, Wes. All right, Sasquatch Chronicles blog of November 3rd. I slowly creeped to the window, and that's when I saw it. A listener writes, I know why people don't tell or talk about their experiences much, because there is still some stigma about Bigfoot. All of my experiences happened just south of Red Oak, Oklahoma. It isn't very far as the crow flies to Honobia, Oklahoma. That's not how you pronounce it, though. I forget Honobi. I think they pronounce it Honobi or something like that. But it looks like Honobia, Oklahoma. The experiences always seemed to happen when the seasons were changing from summer to fall. It lasted till early spring and seemed to end about January. The weather change always brought strange things. The first experience was in 2009. My ex-husband, 9-year-old daughter, and 4-year-old son and I lived on 5, it says archers, but I think they mean acres, 5 acres with a long driveway at about 650 feet long. The driveway led to a dirt road that led out onto the highway. We got our daughter a battery-powered scooter for Christmas that year, and she'd drive while her brother would sit on the back, and they would ride almost to the end of the driveway and then back up together. They would do this till the battery died. We had a couple of cow dogs that would run with the kids, and when our female dog was with the kids, nothing could get near them. I was washing dishes, and I could watch them ride up and down the driveway from the window. I saw my son beating on his sister's back up the driveway. They ran in, and my son said, "Mom, I saw Bigfoot in the trees." He said they went down to the driveway and there was nothing there, but when they came back up, it was in the trees looking at them. And he just told his sister to go faster. His sister said he sounded scared and just to go faster to the house. She had no clue of what he saw. Did I believe them? Yes, because their dad talked about things that happened to him at a farm when he was a kid. The next occurrence was the following year. I think it was November because it was deer gun season. My ex was outside and I was in the house asleep. I assume he got up, couldn't sleep, and just went to smoke. I really didn't know. I just know it was late, and he woke me up by beating on the back door, telling me to grab the rifle. I did, and a pistol. When I got out to the back, he says, "Did you hear it?" I could hear a howl that I hadn't heard before, but it was moving like it was running on the ridge down into the valley and then coming back our way. At that point, he said, "Get back in the house." We listened as the howl disappeared. Now, the next occurrence was after that, but I can't remember how long. I just know it was before the last occurrence, which was through spring of 2014. So somewhere in between there. My ex and I were in bed asleep. I heard an awful howl coming from what sounded like the front yard. I said I wish the dog would quit howling, and my ex said, "It's not the dog." Me, being me, was like, "Yes, it is." So I went to the back door, and I opened it, and the dog was balled up by the steps. He looked so scared, but he would not move. I said, "Hey, boy, what's wrong? Come on in." And then I heard another howl and quietly shut the back door and slid back to bed. My ex said it wasn't the dog, was it? I shook my head and just quietly waited and listened. Nothing else happened that night, and I fell asleep. The last occurrence was our last spring there in 2014. Now, this whole time we had 2 dogs, but our female blue heeler died in 2010. We just had her son left, and he was nothing like her. She fought a bobcat and lived, but her offspring wouldn't fight a biscuit. So they weren't so brave. That's why I think the Bigfoot was coming close to the house. It was late at night, and I heard our dog bark a few times, and then nothing. Now, the way the trailer house sat was east and west, and the light on the power pole was on the south side of the trailer house, causing about a 6 to 8 foot shadow on the north side of the trailer. So if someone was standing by the trailer, it's hard to see them. Now, if there's a bit of a moonshine, you can see a shadow and outline, but not get great details. If there's a full moon on that side of the house, was fully visible. This particular night, it was a full moon, but the moon had stated its cycle. My kids were sleeping with me. My ex moved out. I could hear something on the north side of the house by my bedroom window, and so could the kids. I motioned for them to be quiet. I slowly creeped to the window, and that's when I saw it. Something large, humanoid looking, and it was crouched by the window. Now, being as we lived out in the country and as I was a woman by myself with kids, I had a rifle behind my closet door and a pistol stored in the headboard. I slowly backed away to grab the rifle and laid it at the foot of the bed. The dog barked a few more times. I checked the window again and it was gone. I've never been so scared of living in the country. I loved living on that 5 acres and regret ever leaving it, even to this day. Those are all the encounters I have. My ex-husband told my fiance about some of his, but he never told me. Wow, that's crazy. What do you think, Sheldon?
Well, you got some big Bigfoot right at your window. I'm not, I might react this exact same way. I might hide under my bed. You never know.
I think that's a safe bet. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, if you're living in a trailer house, that's really not much protection, honestly.
No.
Like a bear could come right into a trailer house without much trouble. And a bear will come into a regular house without a whole lot of trouble. There's a video online, and I've talked about it before on the show, but it shows like a grizzly, and it's this house out in the mountains. They got a security system with a camera and door and stuff, and you hear this noise, and the camera comes on, and you don't see anything, but you notice the door, the big wood oak door or whatever kind of wood it is, big, thick, heavy outdoor door, starts to buckle and then pow, just blasts open, and in comes this huge grizzly. It's like, yeah, he blew the door trim off. I mean, he leaned on it with such force that it just blew through the deadbolt and the lock and split the wood, and the door flew open and it came in the house. I mean, and that's just a bear leaning against it, like probably pushing against it, but still, 1,500 pounds of animal with all muscle, it's gonna blow that apart. Well, you look at a Bigfoot, and it could be around the same ballpark, 1,000 pounds of all muscle. It's gonna shred a trailer house like a pop can,
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it would just go right through those fabricated walls like nothing. So, but generally speaking, they don't, and that's the good part. But that's the scary version, is that what if they come in? What if they come in? Then what? So,
what do you think? What do you think's stronger? Not like what would win, but just strength-wise, grizzly bear or Bigfoot?
I think a grizzly is plenty strong. I mean, the thing with animals like that, like we think of strength as how much could you lift, like how much weight or how hard would your punch be, that kind of thing. And pound for pound, I think the Bigfoot would be stronger anyway, and even being outclassed by size by a grizzly. But I would say that a grizzly is also, they're built for power and for survival. I mean, and I would have to say that I think categorically I would say that a Bigfoot would definitely outclass any bear. The reason that I say that is because that was like a big question for a long time in the Bigfoot circles, and still is. But I did see a guy interviewed, and I can't remember what show it was on, but it was some show about like monsters and mysteries in America or something. And on this show, they had they called it a micro expression reader. She worked for the Department of Homeland Security, but she was good at reading micro expressions. And so they showed her some interviews of different experiencers. One of the experiencers was a fisherman out in Alaska. And he was talking about how they were out fishing and it was getting late in the day. So they kind of pulled into this desolate, uninhabited area, but it was like a cove, and they anchored in the cove. So they're about, 50 yards offshore, just sitting out there in the cove, and they're hanging out and having a quiet night, just riding out the night until the next day or whatever. But So they're out there, and they could hear something coming through the woods on the island. So they just kind of all just paid attention. He said he was paying attention, and he saw this huge grizzly come out of the brush line onto the beach, and was like pacing back and forth, like it was just nervous. And then he said I knew it was a huge bear. It was just enormous. But he said then it reared up and got up on its back legs, and he said it was every bit like 12 feet tall. This thing was absolute monster. He said it got up on its back legs, and it was looking towards the wood line and listening back and forth, and then it started sniffing. And then he said you could tell it caught the scent. And the next thing he said that bear dropped down on all fours and took off like a scared rabbit. And he's like, what in the hell could chase out a full-grown grizzly like that, a monster like that? That's like, one of the king of the bears up here. And he was just dumbfounded. And he said as he was watching, sitting there in the darkness in the cove, and he could, there's enough ambient light he could see, suddenly steps out this 9-foot Sasquatch through that same brush line that it was chasing the bear. And then he's like, I realized that this thing was what scared that bear. And he said it just floored me. So, I mean, this is a huge monster grizzly, but it ran like a kitten, because that Bigfoot was coming. So,
jeez.
I don't know. I mean, which one is stronger? I don't know, but I know which one. I believe I know which one is considered the big dog on the pile, and it's not the bear. So, very cool story though.
Bigfoot's king of the forest.
And getting back to the micro expression person, she's like, she was looking at the characteristics of this guy telling the story, and he's like, and he got to the part where he was describing the Sasquatch, and he made this real sour face, and she's watching it like frame by frame, and she said this is an expression of his memory, and he remembers seeing it and being absolutely disgusted by it, like it was just a horrific thing for him to see. And she says there's no doubt this story that he was telling, he believes it's a true story. Like he's not fabricating anything. So I thought that was interesting.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Roger Wilco says, yeah, I live in the Smokies. I got bears on my property. They are so smart and curious. My dogs run them off. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think, bears are like most other creatures in the wild. I mean, they want to survive, but they don't want to encourage confrontation if they don't have to. Now, if a bear's starving, your dogs might be on the menu, but generally speaking, I think bears are pretty successfully conditioned to avoid people and our dogs, because we hunt them. We hunt bears, and I think they're pretty aware of the fact that people generally, can be extraordinarily dangerous. So they try to stay away. That doesn't mean they're not going to come and try to hit the garbage can every chance they get, but they are not going to encourage confrontation for the most part. That's why the story of, watching that video of that grizzly blowing into that house freaks me out, because at that point it's entering. So is that, that's an exceptionally dangerous animal at that point, because it's not even avoiding coming into full contact. It's coming in to where it knows people are. So,
yeah, you're right. That's actually terrifying then.
Yeah. I love the whole, let's live in peace and harmony with all things. But I think having a healthy respect from, having bears that are a little timid and shy and worried about making contact is a really good thing, because, if you get it wrong, you got it all wrong. And, I think about that bear expert that was part of that documentary. He was, self-taught, and he went up and would hang out with the bears while they were breeding up in Alaska and stuff. And they were, they dropped him off he and his girlfriend, and he didn't call for the pickup. And so they went up there, and all they found was his tore up tent. And he was an expert. He did documentaries with these bears. He knew them all since they were cubs, but he just got one on the wrong day. And
it's that instinct.
Yep. It's like these are wild animals. They're not, so I don't know. Have you heard the tape?
Like it's what?
Roger says, "Have you heard the tape?" No. I don't know what tape you mean. Is it the tape of that recording? No. Of that incident? No. No, I just know the story. Yeah, I don't know the actual tape. I don't think I'd want to either. I would. It would be horrifying, I think, to hear somebody in their final moments trying to fend off a bear. If that's what you
we're
mean.
okay not knowing that, Roger.
Yeah,
we're okay with that one.
It's just a good cautionary tale. I think that they call them wild animals for a reason. They're wild because they're not your pet. They're not to be trusted like your pet. So
Instinct's actually crazy. Like when you think about it, like even in some of the other crazy videos you see this, fluffy bear just, being happy, being nice and all that. And then just something just switches and
Yep.
they just,
yeah, like the ears suddenly turn flat and it's like, oh God.
yeah. Just something just changes out of nowhere. Instinct is nuts. It's like split personality almost.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's get to the next one from Sasquatch Chronicles here. And he defended those bears till his last minute. I believe I have heard that. It was horrible. Yeah. Roger says he defended his camera came on and you can hear it. He defended those bears till his last minute. Wow. Yeah, I mean it's a terrifyingly horrible tale. But I mean he put a lot of faith in his ability to hang out with them, and for the most part he was right, but when he was wrong, he was all wrong.
Yeah.
There was some people that suggested maybe his and I don't mean to be crude or rude, but I'd heard some people suggest that maybe his girlfriend or fiance was on her cycle, and the smell of blood might have been what turned the tide. But I don't know if that's true or not. I just don't know. So,
jeez.
All right. So the next one from Sasquatch Chronicles comes from November the 2nd, and it says it took up the whole entire windshield. It actually says it took up the entire windshield, but I went full 5-year-old and said whole wide windshield. So
I didn't know. I didn't even catch that. Oh my God.
Yeah, I often dust things up a little bit. My uncle was a trucker, hauled wood from here in, I think NB is New Brunswick in Canada, but I might be wrong. I don't know what else NB would be. To mills throughout eastern Maine. So yeah, that would be about right. Places such as Millinocket, Costigan, and a few others. While I don't remember the particular place, I do know where we were that night. It was close to Mount Katahdin. Katahdin? I don't know. I'm just making it up. It's what I think it says. And I'm a nature nut who was so excited to see it even at night. The route number of the highway escapes me, but I distinctly remember it was uninhabited stretch of road. And we were just coming from a hill and rolling back down, reaching a sort of bog on the side of the road. It wasn't big, but big enough to leave a good sizable gap of open ground between the tree line and the road. And this is where it happened. I remember snapping my head over to my uncle, which in itself is odd for me to do because usually my eyes are dead ahead out the window watching where we're going, or other times drowsy from the drive. Keep in mind I was 16 at the time and my uncle had a habit of pinching my shoulder if I dozed off on him. Like a jerk, joking. The driving with him was his punishment for my failing school and wanting to quit. It's as if something forced me to turn my head. It was so out of character for me. Anyway, I snapped my head to my uncle to see this shadow pass by his window. Now, Wes, I don't have to tell you how ridiculous that itself sounds. He was driving a good 65 miles per hour. He had a lead foot, especially at 2:30 a.m. I can't help but think, visually, I may have been wrong. Looking from the passenger side, I may have just seen this thing exit the woods at a weird angle. But still, it would have had to have been extremely fast. Odd thing is, for a few seconds, I thought I was just seeing this thing. He slammed on the air brakes. Like not to slow down for a bump or what have you, but to avoid something on the road. I quickly realized he was seeing the same thing, and he literally braced himself to the wheel and had an unforgettable look of shock on his face. It was a mixture of shock, horror, and panic. I remember the feel of my hands reaching out to catch the dash on this truck because the brakes slammed on, threw me out of my seat, but my eyes did not leave this thing. What took seconds to happen felt like an hour. As he hit the brakes, I could remember the air brakes locking up and the tires grinding on the pavement. Whatever this was now running across the front of his international truck. I cleaned this truck, Wes. I greased it up. I cleaned it inside and out, and I still remember the smell of the Armor All I soaked that truck in, and the grease and soot off that damn smokestack that stained my clothes all the time. I'm also height disadvantaged. I'm 5'4", short, not like you tall people, Wes. I always had to use the cutout step on the bumper to haul myself up on the hood knob to pull that hood down. That leaves that hood up at least 6 feet from the pavement. Wes, this thing was another 2 feet above that. It took up the entire windshield of that truck. That thing was massive. We didn't hit it. It was so odd, it makes no sense to me even now. How could this thing keep pace with that truck enough to overtake it from his side and then turn and run across the road in front of us? I've been listening to your podcast for many years. It's the one I've never deleted out of boredom, and I've never heard this sort of thing. So it leaves me wondering, was it Bigfoot? Doesn't seem so in that regards. I tried rationalizing this. It wasn't shadows. The moon was high up above the truck at the time. It doesn't fit the actions of this thing. Also wasn't some of that dark material. Wasn't some sort of dark material. It was too big and the wind that night was blowing, but not that much to blow anything that sort of size. So not fast and certainly not like that. I also realized I didn't see any distinguishing features outside of the shape of this thing. They don't make people shape things like this. If they did, I pity the woman who birthed that thing. My uncle did tell me later it was hairy. It had coal black eyes with no eye shine. What's stranger still is when it come to where it was in front of me, it's like I blacked out for a few microseconds. Enough time for me to lose sight of it, but I remember moving away from the door next to me, like I was terrified of this thing opening the door. Sounds stupid now, I know, but fight or flight, maybe. He hit the diesel and got the truck back on the right side of the road. I still remember the clank of the train tracks just a bit further up the road past the next knoll. And that was it. Over in a few seconds. We stayed quiet until we got to the mill, and I don't think either of us was remotely drowsy after that. He kind of passed out on his steering wheel, head in his hands, and now anyone who drives a truck knows you don't really sleep. Your brain just kind of shuts down to rest, right? He didn't, though. He couldn't, and neither could I. Finally, he picked his head up and cussed, lit up another cigarette, and looked over at me. All he could say was, "Raleigh, did you see anything back there?" I knew what he was talking about, but all I could say was, "When you hit the brakes?" "Yeah." And that's all either of us could get out. We did the mill part and took the route back same way, and I remember passing that spot again. It was full of tall grass, and he slowed down and looked around, shook his head, and then sped off again. The pavement was littered with rubber, but that's it. I'm familiar with the trucking lore around Maine, the black dogs, Phantom 309, the weird things you see at night when you're tired, and never have I heard anything like this in any of my own research. And I've been looking for decades. I don't notice much coming from Maine, even in the BFRO site for that year. He wasn't the paranormal kind of guy. He fell asleep at home to cooking shows and was too much of a stubborn realist to think of researching this, and he only ever brought it up once after, about 15 years later when in Alberta, when I found myself again riding shotgun on a log haul in Alberta on the ice roads. As scary as that encounter was, it isn't nearly as scary as being surrounded by a pack of wolves. Bigfoot may be scary, and let's face it, ugly, but these things were beautiful and deadly. I'd prefer the Squatch, really. Quicker death, perhaps. And that's it, Wes. I have no idea if it was Bigfoot. I don't really know what it was. I just know what it wasn't.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's all you can walk away with. It wasn't a bear, wasn't a deer, wasn't an elk, wasn't a moose. What was it? I don't know. It looked like a human, except big. I think it was a Bigfoot. What do you think, Sheldon?
The one part is getting me, though.
What's that?
I mean, it was really quick. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it wasn't right angle or anything, but just that no reflective eyes.
Yeah, that's... I don't know.
Weird.
It can be an angle of incidence, though, right? I mean...
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
They do... There's so many reports of them reflecting eye shine. Some even claim that they glow, and maybe they do. I don't know. I don't understand that at all. I mean, because if it's giving off light, how is it receiving any light? But anyway, it's a conundrum, I suppose. But to have coal black eyes at night, that is an unusual thing. You're right. That's not what you would expect. You'd expect, it had bright red eyes. Or golden eyes, another big one. The yellow color or golden color. What about glowing eyes? Well, some people claim that they've seen these Bigfoots with eyes that are giving off light, not reflecting light. People have observed them in absolute blackness of night. I was talking to a gentleman, I think it's Kevin Keeney, he was part of an investigation group, or his own group, I guess, out of Arizona. He did some research on the Mogollon Ridge, and he would go up there and sit in an absolute dark camp, and said he would see their eyes, their red eyes, coming from the brush all around, and swore that those were Bigfoots. And I interviewed him on when I sat in for a carry on Sasquatch, or Bigfoot Odyssey, rather, and he talked about those eyes, that they glowed. And I was like, well, did you have a campfire? Did you have any ambient light? He's no. Sitting in absolute blackness. And you see these red eyes around him coming close into camp. Could hear them, could see, but he said there was no ambient light to give off. Not even moonlight, not even, stars. It was just like a dark, overcast night. So, I don't know.
Oh.
It's a hell of a claim. I just don't understand the mechanics of that. Because if it's bioluminescence, then if it's giving off light, how is it seeing light? How is it perceiving light through those same eyes? That's what I don't quite understand. Just some thoughts. Let's see. So is Bigfoot a real animal or something different? There are a lot of poltergeist stuff with them too. Yeah, there sure is. I tell you what, Roger, I just did an interview. It'll be coming up on the podcast in a couple of weeks with Brett Eichenberger, who does the Flash of Beauty. They did the Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed. It's a beautiful documentary about Bigfoot. They did an amazing job. And there's the new one that's out. If you go to, I think it's on Vimeo right now. You can go check it out. But it's Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot. And they talk with Ron Moorhead in there, and they talk with, several experiencers of the paranormal stuff. And in talking with Brett, I've never discounted the fact that there's probably something to it. I just don't know what to do with it. I get stuck with it. It's like, well, how does that make sense?
Because the logical brain comes in. It's
sure.
But how does that make sense? Yeah, like you're saying.
Right. I mean, we're all human beings. We all have a paradigm. We all have a set of beliefs that define our worldview. And it can be an ever-evolving thing. But when something comes into that worldview that just suddenly defies so much, I don't know what to do with it yet. Please understand, I'm not saying I don't believe it's true. I believe these people are seeing what they say they're seeing. I just have a tendency to have to be able to wrap my head around it before I can embrace it myself. I still listen and communicate and talk openly with these people. It's just I have this insatiable desire to understand. And that's where I get stuck because I can't explain that. Yeah. I have some theories, but I've shared them on shows here and there. But I'm trying to flesh it out a little more because of very much like you said, there's some poltergeisty stuff. So there's bleed through in a lot of different phenomena. There's bleed through. There's ghostly apparitions are common. People, not common, but they're widely reported for, time immemorial. And people see them and they look, in some cases, they look very wispy and ethereal. And in others, they look as real as you and me. Like you can't tell they're not a person until suddenly they melt away in front of you. But
it's like Dogman in that case.
Well,
I mean, because you have a lot of both. You have a lot of the physical ones,
sure.
and then some people shot it, nothing happened.
Yeah. So there does seem to be something. I guess probably the safest way to say it is there does seem to be something very quantum about these cryptids. I don't know to what angle or to what end or how or why or why not us, if that's the case. Like if we're a part of the natural world, is there a quantum element to us? Well, I don't know of any other animals that melt away when you see them, but these things do for some reason. So does that mean they're not really from here and they're kind of glitching back to their own home? Or is there something that they're able to control where they can be here whenever they want? And is that, if that's the case, if these are an archaic, like human of some kind, how do they have such a quantum understanding and the ability to transverse dimensional realities? That seems like a pretty advanced state, not a rudimentary, caveman type of thing. But anyway, I don't know. It's just such a loaded thing, right?
Very.
Yep.
Oh, well, this is the paranormal. It's packed to the brim loaded.
Well, there it is, and there's so much unknown and I can't claim to know much about any of this, to be honest with you. All these years of looking into it and trying to understand. I mean, it's all, think about it this way. I mean, you think about the fact that, there are human ghosts. So that means that we all have this, we're all just meat bags with these souls inside of them, these personalities. We are the soul, in other words. Mm-hmm. And what is that? Because that's already a quantum state there, where we're existing as an energetic state, but as a physical state. We have we're an energetic presence with a physical experience, but we're also more. And so I don't know. It just gets so convoluted and hard to describe and talk about, but it's.
Oh, true. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Like a science that we've barely even scratched, like nothing.
Sure. Yeah.
Even for study reasons, like we have no idea. Yeah.
We have no idea. You're right. But that's the journey though, right? I mean, it's about trying to understand this weirdness. So
yeah. As much as your brain can actually try, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's no easy answers. There's no convenient answers or good answers. It's just ideas, and all we can do is throw ideas at this stuff to try to make sense of it, because something incredibly profound is happening around us. And again, it's not where things are just odd or where the weird stuff happens like a mistake. I don't think these things are the mistake or the errors in the program, if you will. I think that they are profound breadcrumbs that if we follow them, we can learn about ourselves, we can learn about the universe around us, and learn that reality is fluid and dynamic. It's not rigid and concrete. And I think that's probably a good thing. It's just, how does it all translate? I don't know. That's as far as I've gotten so far.
Yeah.
So
plus, you got to remember, as far as even the dimensions that we can even perceive, we have 1D, 2D, 3D.
Sure.
But there's also 4D, 5D that our brains just can't even comprehend. It's just reiterating the fact that it's crazy. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really is. It sure is. I'll be here tomorrow night heading out in the morning. Well, RJ, I hope you have a safe trip. Wherever you're heading out, what are you doing? What's going on tomorrow?
Be safe, RJ.
Yeah, be safe, whatever you're doing. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, here we go. Let's go to I guess we're going to go to Phantoms and Monsters now because, well, we got one more of Sasquatch Chronicles. This one's kind of short. From October 28th, and this is Strange Figure on the Side of the Road. A listener writes, it's a bit strange of me to write this, but I came across your podcast about a year or so ago, and I'm hearing odd similarities to something I saw on the side of the highway. It was between 2007 and 2011. In the beginning of May, I timelined this based on a spring jacket that I owned at the time. It was around 9 p.m. at night on Highway 402 between Sarnia and London, Ontario. My father was driving me to the bus station in London to catch a train back to Toronto. It's a very large agricultural area with lots of farms and lots of spots of small forests. My sighting was pretty simple. I saw what I thought was a man wearing this big fluffy gray winter coat with a hood on. The face was noticeably darker than the coat/hood, and he seemed surprisingly tall. I remember being very confused on why someone would be standing there wearing a big winter coat in May. Believe it or not, the only thing I could think was some ghost of a person who died on that highway. I remember seeing it and thinking that made my stomach sink. That's the whole story. There you go.
Wow.
That's very indicative of a lot of sightings. Like, the sightings are moments. They literally, most of these sightings, people are always like, why aren't there some photos of these things? Everybody's got a cell phone. They got a camera. That's as long as those sightings are. Most sightings of Bigfoot last like 3 to 5 seconds, if that.
Yeah.
Now, could you imagine whipping out your phone, getting it off a standby, opening the phone app, or hitting the button to get the camera up, framing it up, and getting a picture? That would even be worth a damn. I mean, really?
At my quickest, it would take me 5 seconds.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, if you could even do it. And you have to understand too, you're seeing something that is so rattling. Like, instantly, you're seeing something that's not right. That's not right. And so you're stuck in that. And yet there's this expectation that you'd have clarity to grab my phone, get a picture quick. I mean, in fairness, Roger Patterson, in the Patterson Gimlin footage before they hit the Bluff Creek area in California, looking for the Bigfoot, Roger practiced like all the time. He had that camera. He was practicing holstering, unholstering, getting it on the fly, getting it out of the saddle, sliding off the horse. He worked and worked and worked and developed strategies for that because he was expecting to see a Sasquatch. And good thing he did. But even then, even with that camera and all that practice, there's literally seconds of footage and then it's it. This thing crossed a pretty wide area, but they saw it. The horses reacted. They reacted. Roger almost got landed on by his horse when it fell down. It reared up and he almost fell down, but had the presence of mind to grab the camera and then get on his feet and ran towards it as fast as he could and then was able to line up a shot. But I mean, it's just because he rehearsed that so much that maybe it became a muscle memory for him. Like, he was able to fall back on that training, quote unquote. And, Roger and Bob, those two guys, they were tough old cowboys. These weren't the kind of guys to get rattled real easy. So, but they had that experience. But most sightings are nowhere near as long as that. They are just glimpses. They are moments. And why aren't there pictures? Well, because you're seeing the impossible and it's happening. And it takes a lot of rational thought to get your camera out. To first realize you got a camera. There's been people that were absolutely scared to tears, and then they realized they were holding a rifle. Like, after the event was over, it's like, oh my God, I was so terrified and just shaking, and I forgot I even had a rifle. Like that one thing that could maybe make you feel a little safer, and you forget about it because you're in a state of shock. So I think that's an important takeaway.
Even for us that, we believe these things are out there. We, there's a part of us that would love to see them. If we did see one, we would be totally just blown away, like you're saying.
Yeah, it's not like you're, Going to the zoo. Oh, look, there's an elephant. Grab the camera.
Yeah.
You know the elephant's safely in its paddock and it's well fed and well behaved, and they generally don't stampede after the people visiting the zoo. But you're looking at something that's, that big and could beat you into dust in a
Without
heartbeat.
breaking a sweat, easily.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. So you don't know what you're seeing. Are you looking at the face of the thing that's going to walk away, or is it going to walk to you and beat you into dust? You don't know which version you're getting. Yeah. I would automatically just be like, oh, just freeze. Much like I did when I got growled at. I just heard the sound and it made me freeze, and I don't mean to keep hearkening back to that, but that's the only cryptid experience I've ever had. And it was absolutely horrifying, and I never saw it. I didn't dare look. Okay, search the Paranormal Portal archives for Linda Godfrey. Yeah, Linda Godfrey episode was great. She was looking at Linda was an amazing woman. She's by far one of my favorite guests ever that I've interviewed on this show. She's just a marvelous, marvelous person. So the world is definitely a darker place without her. But God rest her soul. Yeah, Linda was wonderful. Yeah, and please listen to him. Actually, if you just go to the Paranormal Portal main page, I think her episodes pop up, at least a couple of the interviews pop up right away because they're still our most successful episodes. I think it's got 28,000 views, the first interview of Linda on the show. Wow. She came on with Lee Hempel. Lee Hempel was on with her, and that was his first interview ever. He came and did that on my show, and he brought trail camera photos of some pretty anomalous stuff that we showcased on that episode. Huh?
I remember that.
Yeah, you did a short for it for the Pieces channel. Paranormal Portal Pieces. That's right.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, do you think, going back to what you're saying about the growling, do you think if you heard that again, that you'd be more mentally prepared for it, or do you think it would still shock you just as much?
It'd be the same.
Yeah.
It was the most humbling experience of my life. It was the most emasculated feeling I've ever had. I was 14. I was, kind of thinking I was, a man. I was kind of a man, and I was feeling good about myself. And when that growl hit me, it was like I was a kitten. I was just a scared kitten. And I didn't dare move. It was just like, this is the sound of the thing that's going to kill me makes. That was the only thing in my head was, oh my God.
I just realized, like, if something's growling at you, that's not like a happy or a passive sound. That's like, get out of here.
If it's a growl, it's pissed.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a serious warning. Either it's growling like, what you gonna do? I'm about to eat you. Or it's growling like, you ain't supposed to be here. Either way, it's a horrible feeling. Horrible feeling. I don't know. Maybe I would have the presence of mind to at least look, but any motion I was just sure would do nothing but aggravate the situation. I just didn't.
Misfire Jack, I don't think knows the story.
Misfire Jack. Oh yeah, you'll have to go back. Well, I mean, I could paraphrase it, I guess. I'm so loath to repeat it again because I've said it so many times.
You said it so many times. It's okay.
If you go to Sasquatch Chronicles, you can listen to me being interviewed. I was a guest on there. I don't remember what episode anymore, but it was where I talk about several of my experiences. It was a great time talking with Wes, or any other show I've appeared on, that story has always come up. It's just always been it's my first paranormal experience that I know of in my life. And it was that deep, horrible growl. So, I mean, I'd never seen an apparition, a ghostly thing or anything, no weird UFO stuff, nothing. I'd always been interested, but I'd never seen anything. And then hiking that day with my friend, and it was just like, and it was so deep and it was so horrifying. I can't imitate it in such a way as it would make sense, or it would make it sound like it sounded. It was just the most horrifying noise in the world. And it was right behind me, and I didn't dare move because whatever made that noise, I was sure was going to kill me. But then it got to the point where it's like the only thing left was to run because it was, and that's what we did. And it didn't pursue, thank God. But Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Maggie says something was grumbling at me from a bush this morning. Oof. I have no idea what it was. I thought it was a mortar bike in the distance to start out with until I realized it was in the scrub. Ooh, Maggie, be careful.
God, Maggie.
Jeez.
Be safe out there, okay?
Yeah. And Elaine says she went hunting at Safeway today. Did you bag your limit, Elaine? I always go and get my limit in the meat department. But yeah, crazy stuff. Wow. You know what? We actually burned up the rest of the episode, didn't we?
Oh my God. Yeah, we did.
Wow. That's show. This show is about cooked, ladies and gentlemen. But the good news is I'll be back tomorrow night and I'll dig up another 2 hours of Paranormal Portal for you. If you want to join me, I'd love to have you here. That'll be tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on YouTube, or you can listen live on tfrlive.com. Check it out over there, whatever works for you. But yeah, I mean, this night's gone pretty fast. What do you think, Sheldon? Do you have a good time?
I always have an amazing time, and I had an amazing time this time because of you, Dad, and because of these amazing community.
The amazing me and the amazing community. Well, that's pretty awesome, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, don't forget now. We have a new home base. We have the home base, paranormalportal.net. Get on there, get up to date on the podcasts that are coming out as they're coming out, the episodes when we're going live, as well as having your own interview possibly for anything happening.
Yeah, if any of you have got experiences, just get a hold of me. There's a button on there that says interview me, and if you click it, it'll open my calendar app, and you can pick a date and time that works for you, and we can get you on the show on the podcast as an interview. That would be a lot of fun. Been doing a lot of interviews lately. That's been great. A lot of people reaching out. But I'd love to talk to any of you with stories as well. And don't think that it's got to be this incredible Hollywood thing. It doesn't have to be. Your experiences could be, hey, my cereal bowl moved. That's my big one. My cereal bowl moved. Well, they ain't supposed to do that.
Yeah, or if you just saw something in the corner of your eye, like a shadow person type of situation.
Yeah, exactly. So just know that, whatever your situation is, I'd be happy to talk with you and to interview you for the show. So that's the Paranormal Portal podcast. Again, you're watching the live streams on YouTube, but the podcast is a different show entirely. It's where I talk to either people in the field or experiencers themselves. Right now, the latest episode is Tarina from the UK, who came out and talked about her incredible series of events and some pretty shocking activity. So with ghostly experiences. So that was a wonderful lady reached out from the UK and was my guest. So that was
hopefully Trina's doing better now.
Yeah, she is. They worked through it. They found their way through it. So that was good. But yeah. So anyway, I guess that's going to be about it. Tomorrow's show is the last of the week. We do live shows here on the channel Wednesday, Friday, Saturday to the general public. And we do YouTube member shows on either Tuesday or Thursdays. I was thinking of switching to Thursdays because we did one Thursday this last week, and that was kind of nice just to have all the shows in a row like that. Rather than two shows break and then two more shows. Maybe I'll keep it on Tuesday. We'll see, but we'll plan on for Tuesday this next week. But it may get moved to Thursday, just so you know, but I'll let you know on social media. Follow us on social media. And remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on YouTube. I hope to see you there. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Roll the credits.